Hey everyone, today we're doing something that we haven't done for a while on this channel, and that is making some hats. There are two versions of this pattern that you can make. You can make a regular old cap like this, or you can turn it into a helicopter version. Now, the helicopter version does come with a bit of a caveat. The method I've used to make it spin is sort of a DIY solution. It's not the greatest, and it is not really secure or safe. So if you plan to make this version for, say, a kid, I would not go with the spinning version. I would just sew all your pieces together, but we do discuss that at length in the pattern. So just keep that in mind. I'd recommend this method only for adults. There are a couple of other things that I want to try in order to make this safe and secure and still spin, but I don't have the materials I need for that just yet. If I eventually do get my hands on those, I'll make an update to this pattern so you can have the safe, spinny helicopter hat. Okay, with all that out of the way, let's get straight into the pattern. Grab your hooks and let's get started. To make a cap, you're going to need a 3.5mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, and a needle, as well as 8-ply yarn. I'm going to be using 4 different colors, but you can really use as few or as many colors as you'd like. To make just the cap itself only requires 2 patterns. There are the panel pieces that make up the top of the cap, as well as the brim. If you'd like to make the helicopter version, there are a couple of additional parts which we will crochet at the end. But for the cap, we're going to start off by making the panel pieces. For that, begin with a slip knot and then chain 2. In the second chain from the hook, or the first chain, we're going to put 1 single crochet. For row 2, chain 1, turn your work, and in the second chain from the hook, we're going to do an increase. And an increase is just 2 single crochet in the same stitch. For row 3, chain 1, turn your work and do 2 single crochet. Row 4, chain, turn, we're going to do an increase in the first stitch and then just a single crochet in the second stitch. Row 5, chain, turn, 1 increase followed by 2 single crochet. For row 6, we're again going to chain, turn, and do an increase in the first stitch, but then we're going to follow this with 2 single crochet and another increase in the last stitch. Row 7, chain 1, turn your work, start with an increase, follow this with 4 single crochet and then another increase. Row 8 is chain, turn, and then just 8 single crochet. Row 9, chain, turn, 1 increase, 6 single crochet, and then another increase. Row 10, chain 1, turn your work, and do 10 single crochet. Row 11, chain, turn, 1 increase followed by 8 single crochet and then another increase. Row 12, chain, turn, and do 12 single crochet. Row 13, chain, turn, 1 increase, then 10 single crochet and another increase. Both rows 14 and 15 are chain 1, turn your work, and 14 single crochet. So this time we're doing 2 rows without any increases. Row 16, chain 1, turn your work. We're going to start with an increase, do 12 single crochet and finish on another increase. Row 17, chain, turn and start with an increase followed by 14 single crochet and then another increase. When you've finished row 17, you should have 18 stitches in total in your row, and then rows 18 all the way through to 33 are each going to be chain 1, turn your work and 18 single crochet. And that is row 33 finished. We have one more step to go before we finish off the panel pieces, and that is to single crochet around the outside of the piece. And it's important that you don't skip this step because we're going to use these stitches that we're about to crochet to join the panels together. We had 33 rows in total, and we started off with row 1 with 1 single crochet. That means we're going to need to do 33 single crochet along the side here, 1 in at the end of each row, then 1 at the top, and then 33 single crochet back down the other side, again into the ends of the rows. We need to make sure that we get the right number of stitches here because otherwise our panel pieces aren't going to line up correctly. All you need to do is just rotate your work around, insert your hook into the end of the last row here, row 33, and single crochet. Then you're going to jump up to row 32, single crochet, row 31, single crochet, and continue all the way along until you reach row 1, which should give you 33 stitches. And 33. Now I'm going to do 1 single crochet right at the top of my work here. Get my hook in there and do 1 single crochet, and at this point I'm also going to start working over this end from my slip knot just to secure it. Once you've done that single crochet at the top, we're going to do 33 more back down the other side, once again working into the end of each row. And there is my last single crochet. At this point, just cut yourself a short yarn tail. This needs to be long enough that you can either weave it in to secure it or work over it later. We're not doing any sewing with it or anything like that. Once you have made your first panel, you will need to make 5 more, or 6 in total. I've chosen to do 2 of each color, but this is totally a personal preference. You can make 6 different colors, you can do them all the same color, whatever floats your boat, it's up to you. When you've crocheted all of those, we're going to go on and crochet the brim, and then we'll begin putting this hat together. Now that we've crocheted all 6 of our panel pieces, we're going to crochet the brim for our hat, and for that we're also using our 3.5mm hook. We're going to start off by making a slip knot, and then we're going to chain 21. And 21. This next step is going to be optional, but it does help if you're someone who likes to have like a visual marker for things. So you're going to need 3 stitch markers. And then we're going to put 1 in the front loop of our last chain, chain 21. We're going to put a second into the front loop of chain number 1, the very first one that we made. And then we're going to put a third into chain number 11. So right in the middle of our chain, we've got let's just count out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And in the front loop, I'm just going to pop that in there. After we've put those stitch markers in, we're going to chain an additional 3 because we'll be using double crochet for this brim pattern. 1, 2, and 3. And then for row 1, we're going to do 21 double crochet back down the chain. Starting in the 4th chain from the hook, which is where our first stitch marker is, we're going to do our first double crochet, and then we're going to do 20 more back down the chain. For row 2, what I'm going to do is break the pattern down into parts A, B, C, so on, just because I think it makes this step a little bit easier to understand, because from here we're going to be creating the shaping of the brim, and there's a couple more steps involved than just crocheting back and forth in rows, and I want to make it clear what I'm doing, so hopefully breaking the pattern down like this will help. The first thing we're going to do, round 2 part A, is to slip stitch into the base of the first chain. So that is where we put our stitch marker. So from this point of our last double crochet, we're going to push our hook straight into the base of that double crochet, or where our stitch marker is. We're going to go in there and we're going to do a slip stitch. For row 2 part B, we're going to chain just 1. We're still working with double crochet, but I'm only chaining 1 here because doing that rather than chaining the 3 that I usually use for double crochet helps us gain that curved shape for the brim, because it pulls the double crochet inwards a little bit because we're not matching it in height with our chains. So, it's a bit annoying. Stop that. So we've chained 1. We're going to turn our work now. And the first thing that we're going to do is double crochet increase into the base of the last double crochet from row 1, which again is where our stitch marker is. A double crochet increase is just 2 double crochet in the same stitch. We're going to yarn over, go into the base where our stitch marker is, do 1 double crochet, yarn over again, go straight back into that space and do a second double crochet. After that double crochet increase, which was row 2 part B, we're going to do row 2 part C, and row 2 part C is worked in the 21 double crochet that we did in row 1. So we've worked into the base. We now have our 21 double crochet to work in for part C. We're going to do 2 double crochet, 1 and 2. Then in the next stitch, we're going to do another double crochet increase, which again is 2 double crochet in the same stitch. We will follow this with 7 double crochet. And 7. And then after that 7th double crochet, we're going to do another double crochet increase, followed by 7 more double crochet. We're then going to do another double crochet increase, and after that 3rd double crochet increase, we should have 2 stitches left in our row, and we're going to double crochet into both of those. That is row 2 part C finished. Row 2 part D is going to be worked into the base of chain 21. Yeah, it was 21, was it? Yeah, chain 21, where we put our second stitch marker. So we're going to yarn over, go into that space where our stitch marker is at the end here. We're going to do 1 double crochet there. And then we're going to go back into that same space, not a stitch, space, and do our second double crochet. That is row 2 finished, and as you can see, because we've worked into the bases of both chain 1 and chain 21, we're starting to get the sort of curved shape of a brim. We're going to continue on with row 3. From here, we're not going to be working into the base anymore, so you can take those stitch markers out if you want to, but I find they don't get in the way, so I'm just leaving them for now. We're still going to begin by chaining just 1 and turning our work, because as I explained before, the chaining 1 instead of 3 does help with the shaping. Row 3 is going to be 3 double crochet, and we're starting in the second chain from the hook because we only chained 1. 1, 2, and then 3. But this time, as our increase, we're going to put 3 double crochet in the same stitch, and I will abbreviate this in the written pattern as 3DC, 3 double crochet, ISS, in same stitch. So we're going to do 1 double crochet, back into the same stitch for a second, and then back into that same stitch again for a third. After that first 3 double crochet in the same stitch, we're going to do 9 double crochet. And 9, and then in the next stitch we're going to do a double crochet increase, and this is just the 2 double crochet in the same stitch kind of increase. Do 1, back into the same stitch again for 2. We're then going to do 10 double crochet, and 10, and then we're going to do another 3 double crochet in the same stitch, one, 2, and 3. And then we're going to finish off row 3 by doing 3 double crochet. For row 4, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. We'll start with a double crochet increase followed by 3 double crochet, then 3 double crochet in the same stitch followed by 11 double crochet, another double crochet increase, 11 more double crochet, 3 double crochet in the same stitch, followed by 3 double crochet, and then we're going to finish on a double crochet increase. Row 5 is chain 1, turn your work. We're again going to start with a double crochet increase, followed by 5 double crochet, 3 double crochet in the same stitch, 12 double crochet, another double crochet increase, 13 double crochet, 3 double crochet in the same stitch, 5 double crochet, and then finally a double crochet increase to finish off. And then row 6, which is the final row, is chain 1, turn your work, 1 double crochet increase, 7 double crochet, 3 double crochet in the same stitch followed by 29 double crochet, 3 double crochet in the same stitch, 7 double crochet, and then we'll finish off with another double crochet increase. What we'll do now is assemble our caps. There are a few additional pieces to crochet if you'd like to make the helicopter version, but we will assemble first just because not everyone is going to want a helicopter version. So if you want just the plain cap, we will do that next. And for those of you who do want the helicopter version, we'll crochet those additional pieces after we've done our assembly, because we need to do that as well anyway, so we may as well get that out of the way first. The first step in assembling our caps is going to be to lay out our panel pieces in whatever configuration that you want. I've crocheted 3 different colors, so I'm going to have my colors sort of opposite each other. So you can see I've got the 2 purples here, 2 yellows, 2 pinks, they're facing each other. Then we're going to begin attaching the panels together, and we're going to do this one by one. Before we do that though, we'll go over the breakdown of the stitches in our panels, because that's going to be important for when we actually begin single crocheting or slip stitching these together. So I'm going to bring you in a little bit closer so we can see this better. That might be too close. Spidey wants in on the action. So what we did at the end of crocheting our panel pieces, we single crocheted around the edge of the entire piece. We have 33 rows in total, so that means we should have 33 stitches here and 33 stitches here. At the bottom of our piece, we finished with 18 single crochet. So again, we should have 18 single crochet here, and then we should have done 1 across the top, because row 1 was 1 single crochet. All up, we should have 18 single crochet, 33 single crochet, 1 at the top, and 33 single crochet down the other side. The reason that I've put stitch markers into that 1 single crochet at the top for all of my pieces is because we're not going to be using those to join the panel pieces together. The only pieces we work into to join the panels are the 33 stitches on each side. So we're going to be skipping the first 18 single crochet, which is why I've put a stitch marker here as well. I've skipped the first 18 stitches. I don't want to work into those. And I've put a stitch marker here because this is the first stitch I'll be working into. If you want to make things a little bit easier on yourself, you can do the same thing. Put a stitch marker in each stitch at the very top of your work, that's stitch 1. And also put a stitch marker in the first stitch that we'll need down the bottom here, which is the end of row 33. Again, we're skipping the 18 single crochet at the bottom that we finished with, and we've put our stitch marker into the stitch that's in the end of the row. When you've done all that, we're going to take our first 2 pieces that we want to join. For me, that's going to be this yellow and purple one. And we're going to line our stitches up like this. So I've lined up the stitch that's in the end of row 33 here. You know what? I'm gonna move you guys because you're just gonna get in the way. I've lined up the stitches that I worked into the end of row 33. So the last one here is going to match up with the one that I've put my stitch marker in here. I should have 33 stitches all the way up here, and that stitch marker marks the one at the top of my work. Same on this one, I should have 33 stitches, 1 stitch in at the end of each row, and then the one at the top that I'm not going to work into. Before we begin, you can weave this end into the backs of your stitches if you would like, but I'm just going to work over that later on. To start, we're going to push our hook into the back loop of our first panel piece. So you've got the front loop on this side, the back loop on this side. I'm going to push my hook under the back loop. And then from here, I'm going to go straight into the back loop of the corresponding stitch on my second piece. So again, front loop is here, back loop is here. I'm going to go into that back loop, and I can take my stitch marker out now. I just missed half the yarn, so let's try that again. There we go. At this point, bring in whatever color yarn you're using. I'm going to be using the same color that I crocheted the brim with, this blue. But you can have a matching color, you can have a contrast color, whatever, just bring your yarn in. We're going to line that up behind our hook. We're going to yarn over, We're going to pull through the back loop of the second piece, and then we're going to pull straight through the back loop of our first piece. When we've done that, we're going to slip stitch. So just yarn over and pull through. That is our first joining slip stitch done. As I said before, you can use single crochet here instead of slip stitches, but I find the single crochet to be too bulky. But who knows, you might find that to be a cool feature if your joining stitches stand out a bit. So go ahead and use single crochet if you want to. To crochet the next stitch, we're going to jump up to the back loop of the next stitch in the end of the next row, which would have been row 32. We're going to go into the back loop. We're then going to go straight into the back loop of the corresponding stitch on our second piece. And we're once again going to slip stitch. So we're going to yarn over, pull through the back loop of the second piece, pull through the back loop of the third piece, and then pull straight through the loop that is on your hook. We'll jump up another stitch, repeat that again into the back loop, into the back loop of the second piece. We're going to yarn over and pull through the two back loops, and then the loop that is on our hook. Like this, we're going to make our way up the entire side of the piece. We'll do this 33 times because we should have those 33 stitches on the side of each piece. Again, into the back loop, into the back loop, and slip stitch, back loop, back loop, and slip stitch. And that was my 33rd single crochet. No, my 33rd slip stitch. I'm using slip stitches. After that, I'm just going to cut a short yarn tail. This will need to be long enough that you can weave it in through the backs of your stitches to hide it. And then we're just going to pull up with our hooks. Now that we've got those two pieces slip stitched together, we will bring in our third piece, which for me is going to be this pink one. And we're essentially going to do the same thing. We're going to skip the first 18 stitches of the bottom row, and I'll just count those out. 18, so this is the one I need to start into. We will line the stitches up. I will go into the back loop of the pink piece, then straight into the back loop of the stitch worked into the end of the row. Again, skipping those first 18 stitches here. Bring in my joining color yarn, yarn over, pull through the first back loop, pull through the second back loop, and then slip stitch. And then just work our way up the piece, going into the back loops on each side and then slip stitching. So into the back loop on the pink piece, into the back loop of the yellow piece, and slip stitch, back loop of the, hang on, let me try that again, back loop of the pink piece, back loop of the yellow piece, and slip stitch. And this is what we'll continue doing until all 6 pieces are slip stitched together. It's exactly the same process over and over again. Once you're done with this third piece, we will then bring in the fourth piece, do the same thing, fifth piece, same thing, sixth piece, same thing, and then we will use the same technique to join the 6th piece to the first piece to make the, circular head part of our cap. Now that we've attached all 6 of our pieces, we're going to bring the 6th piece around to the first piece, and we're going to line those up. And then we're just going to do the same thing that we've done for all previous pieces. We're going to go into the back loop of the first piece here, the back loop of the first stitch of the first piece. We're going to go into the corresponding back loop on the last piece, remembering to skip those 18 stitches down the bottom. 1, 2. Bring in your joining yarn. And then slip stitch, and just like we've done on all the other pieces, make your way up the 33 stitches on either side, or the 33 back loops, because we're working in the back loops. Now the body of our cap is done, and I might have to go back out a little bit for this bit. It is time to choose what's going to be the front of your hat. So I'm probably going to go with the yellow and purple at the front because I always like that combo. So you need to choose 2 panels, and then you're going to bring in your brim piece that we crocheted. You can take out the stitch markers from each end, so from stitch 1 and stitch 21, but we're going to use the one that we put in stitch number 11, the midway point, and we're going to line that stitch up with the join between the 2 front panels. So again, these are my 2 front panels. I'm going to take this stitch marker and just pop it open, and I'm going to join that middle chain directly onto the first joining slip stitch. So this way we know that we've got our brim dead in the middle. You're going to continue, just if you grab some extra stitch markers or pins, bobby pins or paper clips if you want to use them, and we're going to continue stitch marking these pieces together. So we want to go all the way along the bottom of the brim, like so. And then we're going to do the same on the opposite side. When you're done, just flip your hat back over so the brim is facing the right way out, and just have a look and see if you think that looks even to you. If you need to do any adjusting, go ahead and do that now. But if you're good to go, we're going to flip the brim back up so it's pressed against the body of the cap here. And then we're going to start joining these 2 pieces together, but we're also going to crochet around the base of the cap just to add a finishing touch, you know, neaten up these ends a little bit, stuff like that. We're going to grab our hook, we're going to insert it into a stitch next to the end of the brim. So my brim ends here, and I'm inserting my hook here. It doesn't matter too much where you insert your hook really, you could start at the back of the cap, but I just like to start next to the brim. We're going to line up our joining colour yarn, or another colour yarn if you want to use that, and join it to our cap, yarn over, pull through the stitch, slip stitch to join. Like when we joined the panels together, you can either use a slip stitch or a single crochet here. I'm going to use single crochet this time just because I want that slightly taller stitch. I'm going to go back into the stitch where I just slip stitched and do my first single crochet. And in my next stitch, I'm going to begin joining the brim and the body of the cap together. I'll take out this stitch marker because I don't need that anymore. I'm first going to go into the brim, and for this first section, until we come up against the original chain that we started with in the brim, we're going to be working into the ends of the rows. You'll want to go into the end of the row here, and then straight out of the next stitch in the body of your cap. So we'll go out of there, and then we're going to single crochet, joining those 2 pieces together. We're going to jump down, again working into the end of the row. We're going to go out of the next stitch in the cap, single crochet, into the next stitch of the row, out of the next stitch of the cap, which for me is going to be the first stitch of the next panel. So I'm jumping over where the pink and the purple panels are joined together, and single crochet and single crochet. And I'm just going to keep doing this all the way around until I've joined the entire brim to the cap. When you finish joining the brim to the body of the cap, we're just going to continue crocheting around the entire piece, working into those 18 stitches we had at the end of each panel row until we get back to the start here. So I've single crocheted across this panel here and I've come up against the join. What you can do is skip over the join entirely, single crocheting directly into the next stitch of the next panel that you need to work into. But in my testing, when I've done this, I'll show you how it looks. It can look a little bit messy and there can be a bit of a gap between the joining slip stitches that we did and the bit that we're crocheting now. So what I would recommend that you do, don't have to, but what I would recommend that you do is put in an additional single crochet in the first joining slip stitch. So we're going from the last stitch here into the first joining slip stitch. Just going to go into there and we're going to single crochet into that. And from there, we'll make our way to the first stitch of the next panel. So I'm going to single crochet into that. You know, in my opinion, that looks a little bit neater. So there's two options there, just go with whichever one you like best. From here, I'm going to continue single crocheting across the 18 stitches of each panel, putting one more additional single crochet into the first joining slip stitch. And I'm going to keep doing that until I hit my starting point. Another thing that I'm also going to be doing is working over these ends. That's just going to save me from weaving them in later on, but if you prefer the weaving in method, just ignore them and we'll weave in all our ends, you know, later on. When you've reached your starting point, cut a short yarn tail, pull up with your hook, and then we're going to take the opportunity to deal with all these ends that we've got. Any ends that you've worked over, you can just snip off. For all the other ends, which in my case is going to be these ends from my joining slip stitches, we will need to weave into the backs of our stitches. So I'll start by getting rid of these things. I've weaved in all my ends so far except one, and the reason I've left this last end is because we're going to finish off here. We're going to thread this end through our needle, and instead of weaving this one in through the backs of our stitches, we're actually going to go under the back loops of each of the 6 stitches we left at the top of our panels here, so the ones that we didn't work into. I'm going to jump into the first one. I'm going under the back loop. So can you see, make sure you can see that, under the back loop. I'm just going to pull that pretty firmly. Then I'm going to jump straight under the back loop of the next panel. And I'm going to repeat this for all 6 panels. And then 6, and then I'm going to pull really firmly on this yarn so the hole closes up. And if it still looks a little bit messy, don't worry too much about that, because we're either going to crochet the bits for the propeller of the helicopter cap, which we'll sew on here and that'll cover it up. Or if you're not going to do a propeller, we will be making a little cap to go on the top here anyway. So even if it's a bit messy, it's okay, because we will be covering it. After you've pulled that yarn in tight, we're just going to insert our needle straight back into the center of the cap. And it's at this point that we'll weave our yarn end in through the stitches to secure it like we've done all the others. That's all taken care of, so we're going to go on to the next stage, and that will be to crochet ourselves all the pieces we need to make a propeller. And if you're not making a propeller, we'll do the little cap bit that goes on the top to cover our mess here. With this section, we'll be making 3 little balls and obviously the propeller itself. Because all 3 of these little ball patterns are incredibly similar, the only difference being the larger ones have an additional round of increases to make them larger, I will be doing the largest ball pattern first. I'll go through that step by step, but then with the smaller 2, I'm going to go through those a little bit quicker. I'll still include all the rounds in the written pattern, and I'm only really going to highlight the differences because there's no point really doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. It's pretty much the same pattern. Because I won't be making a propeller for my second hat, I will be using some slightly different yarn, some scrap stuff, because I don't really want to waste my good stuff on something that I'm not going to be actually using. So set that aside for now. And I'm still going to be using like the same colors, just in a different yarn. Like I said before, we will be starting off with the largest ball pattern. And for that, we're going to start off with 6 single crochet in a magic circle. Round 2 is 6 increases. Round 3 is going to be 1 single crochet, 1 increase repeated 6 times. After round 3, we should have 18 stitches in our round, and then rounds 4, 5 and 6 are each 18 single crochet. Round 7 is 1 single crochet and a decrease repeated 6 times. After round 7, we're going to add our stuffing. And then when that's done, we're going to crochet the last round, which is just 6 decreases. When you've finished, leave a long-ish yarn tail for sewing, because it's this tail here that we're going to use to sew the larger ball onto the cap later on. And then we'll crochet ball number 2. The first 2 rounds of ball 2 are exactly the same as for the first one, which is round 1, 6 single crochet in a magic circle, and then round 2 is 6 increases. And then round 3 is 3 single crochet and an increase repeated 3 times. And then rounds 4 and 5 are each 15 single crochet. Round 6 is 3 single crochet and a decrease repeated 3 times. And then we'll add the stuffing after round 6 is crocheted. And then the final round of the second ball is going to be 6 decreases. Like with the first ball that we made, we will leave a tail for sewing here as well, because we'll need this one to sew the second ball to the first one. But before we do that, we're going to crochet our other pieces. So for the third and final ball, which is the smallest, we're going to crochet the same first 2 rounds again. So round 1, 6 single crochet in a magic circle, and round 2 is 6 increases. And there's no additional rounds of increases for this last smallest ball, and rounds 3 and 4 are each going to be 12 single crochet. And then we're going to add our stuffing. And the final round here is again 6 decreases. Leave a tail for sewing here too, and then we're going to go on and crochet the propeller piece. The first round of the propeller is 6 single crochet in a magic circle. Round 2 is 6 increases. Round 3 is just 12 single crochet. Round 4 is 3 single crochet and an increase repeated 3 times. Round 5 is 15 single crochet. Round 6 is 4 single crochet and an increase repeated 3 times. At the end of round 6, we should have 18 stitches in our round, and then rounds 7 through to 10 are each 18 single crochet. Round 11 is 7 single crochet and a decrease repeated twice. Both rounds 12 and 13 are 16 single crochet. Round 14 is 6 single crochet and a decrease repeated twice. Round 15 is 14 single crochet. Round 16 is 5 single crochet and a decrease repeated twice. Round 17 is 12 single crochet. Round 18 is 4 single crochet and a decrease repeated twice. And then rounds 19 through to 23 are each going to be 10 single crochet. Round 24 is 4 single crochet and an increase repeated twice. Round 25 is 12 single crochet. Round 26 is 5 single crochet and an increase repeated twice. Round 27 is 14 single crochet. Round 28 is 6 single crochet and an increase repeated twice. Rounds 29 and 30 are both 16 single crochet. Round 31 is 7 single crochet and an increase repeated twice. Rounds 32 through to 35 are each 18 single crochet. Round 37 is 4 single crochet and a decrease repeated 3 times. Round 38 is 15 single crochet. Round 39, 3 single crochet and a decrease repeated 3 times. Round 40 is 12 single crochet. And then the final round of the propeller, round 41, is 6 decreases. With this propeller piece, we don't need to leave a tail for sewing. Instead, just cut a short yarn tail, pull up with your hook so we can close this hole up here. To do that, grab your needle, thread the tail through it, and then we're going to go under the front loops of the last 6 stitches. Start behind the front loop, push your needle under it and forward towards you, and repeat this on all 6. And 6, pull firmly on the yarn so the hole closes up, and then we're just going to insert our needle directly back into the center of that last round and weave this tail end in through the stitches to secure it. If you are crocheting the helicopter version of this hat, they are all the pieces you need to do that. But if you want to create just a normal cap, we are going to do the final piece for that now. And because I want to crochet a normal cap for the one I've created here, I'm going to be using my good yarn again. For the cap, we're going to begin by putting 6 single crochet in a magic circle. Round 2 is 6 increases. Round 3 is just 12 single crochet. And then round 4 is just 6 decreases. When you've crocheted that last round, we will cut ourselves a tail for sewing here. And get rid of this bit too. And then this part, we want to press it flat. So we're just going to squish the edges like so. And then all we need to do to assemble this little bit is bring in our hat, and we'll need our needle as well. And we're going to line up the final 6 stitches of the round, these 6 stitches, with the front loops from the stitches at the top of each panel. When we closed up this hole in the center here, we pushed our yarn through the back loops of those last 6 stitches. Here we're going to work in the front loop. So you can see there's one front loop here, another one here, and there will be a front loop 3 on each of those. We're just going to line that up and not single crochet and sew those together. If you think this cap sticks up a little bit too much, you can once again press it flat and then sew another round on the outside here. And then once you've finished all your sewing, we're going to do the same thing we did when we originally closed the gap of the cap here, and that is to weave our yarn end in through the backs of the stitches. If you just wanted to make a plain cap, you are finished at this point, so you are excused from the rest of the video. I hope you enjoyed this pattern. If you would like to make the helicopter version though, we are going to assemble that now. So I'll put you over here. We're going to take the larger ball and the medium-sized ball, and we're going to sew the medium ball directly onto the top of the larger one. So where did I put my needle? I literally had it 2 minutes ago. Oh. Found it, was hiding under my other hat. So we're going to thread the tail end from the medium ball, and then we'll sew it to between rounds 1 and 2 of the large ball, because we should have 6 spaces here, and we finished off with 6 stitches. And then we'll just weave the excess in through one of the balls to secure it. We're going to set these 2 aside at this point, and then we're going to take the propeller and the small ball, and we want to sew the small one directly into the center of the propeller, like this. And then I'm just going to weave this end in through the small ball to secure it as well. Now that we've got these 2 bits assembled, you have 2 options. You can make your propeller helicopter bit spin, or you can just sew these together so it won't spin. If you want to do the latter, all you need to do is sew the medium ball to the bottom of the propeller like that. And if you choose this option, I would recommend not cutting your yarn from the smaller ball just yet. I would instead weave that through the bottom of the propeller and then use that to sew the 2 pieces together. If you would like to make your propeller spin, however, this section of the tutorial is going to come with just one huge asterisk. What I've got at the moment is a toothpick holding these 2 pieces in place. I have a few more ideas of how to make this both more secure and safer, but I don't have the materials to do that. I need to order a couple of things and then I need to test those out. So if you're planning to, I don't know, make this for a kid, I would not recommend you do this. I would go with just sewing the pieces together. But if you would like to make this version, I will show you how I did it anyway. All I did was sew my larger ball to the top of the cap, exactly where we sewed the cap on in the first one. Then I grabbed a toothpick and I inserted it all the way in there. So the toothpick's probably about up to here. And then I just popped the top piece on over that. And that makes it spin. Again, it is not the best method, but it was the best that I could do with the materials that I had. In the future, when I hopefully discover a better method for this, I will possibly make an update to this tutorial. Let me know if you're interested in that. But you need to decide which method you're going to go with. Again, please note that this isn't the safest or most secure method, so I really don't recommend you give it to a kid or anything like that. Hell, I managed to stab myself with a toothpick and I'm a grown-ass adult, so probably not recommended for a child. Once you've figured out which method you want to go with and you've sewn all your pieces or toothpicked all your pieces in place, we are done. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed the pattern. If you end up making either version of this hat, feel free to share it with me over on Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, whatever. But that is all I have for you today, so I will see you next week with another video.